champion Tiana Bartoletta, and a lot of our youth enjoyed her on the show. So we decided to um, do more of a series where we incorporate more track and field athletes. So thank you for taking the time out of your schedule. So now, Leah, tell us a little bit about who Aaliyah Miller is, going all the way back to McKinney, Texas.
Yeah, so I would say I was born in Manhattan, New York, but I moved to McKinney when I was 2,
Oh,
and that's where I kind of started my venture into sports. I didn't immediately start with track. I started with soccer and basketball, I believe, and then I eventually got to track after one of my teammates signed or wanted me to join her in summer track, and that's where I started in the Texas League called Taft. So I did that for a couple of years, and then after some accolades and some like reconsideration, we started to tap into AAU and USATF meets, which helped a lot in the experience. And I feel like I learned a lot in those meets, and that then took me to middle school and high school races. And then through that, that landed me the opportunity of where I am right now at Baylor University. So, yeah, it's crazy to see how far track has gotten me, and very blessed that God gave me this talent so I could just give Him the glory and really see what I can do.
and amen. That's one of the biggest challenges that we share with the youth on this podcast. Is one thing to have God-given gifts and abilities, is another thing to actually hone those gifts and talents and actually use it.
Yes, yes, indeed, very true.
Now, as far as the different events in track and field, Aaliyah, so not to put you on the spot so early in the podcast, but um, what events did you like right away? What events did you not care too much for?
So initially, I was talking to one of my friends about this. When you're entered in summer track, you're always a sprinter. Everybody's always a sprinter until someone comes up to you and says, "Oh no, baby, like you have to keep going up. Like you're not fast enough." So I think that was kind of the case with me. I ran a couple hundreds when I was like 8. Nothing too serious, but I started to move up and ran the 400 some. I ran a 4x1. They put me on a 4x1 last minute, and they didn't tell me what a 4x1 was. And I didn't realize that once I gave off the baton that I was done running. So
Uh,
I handed it off to the third leg, and everybody was screaming, "Go, go, go." And I kept going. So I literally ran the rest of the race. I think I ran a 300. So that's when one of the coaches came up to my parents and was like, "Yeah, I think she can run a 400." So I ran the 400 and then slowly went up to the 8. But I would say I wasn't. I guess I was kind of intimidated by the 8, but I was really intimidated by the mile. I mean, my parents put me in my first mile, and I cried the entire first lap. And it was not a pretty sight. And a bunch of parents said, "Why did you force her to do this?" and all this stuff. And my parents were like, "She can run a lap. If she was crying like this on the third lap, then I would get it. But she's faking." And I was like, "Oh my goodness!" But yeah, so I would say the mile definitely wasn't my favorite growing up, but that's also because nobody ever wants to run 4 laps. When you're around like a bunch of other 10-year-olds, like the miles, the death race, the race you don't ever want to run. So favorite when I was younger, I would say 4, and then not favorite would be mile. But my favorite now is definitely the 800.
okay, fair enough. Um, you know, I can remember coming up in track and field. I was kind of a late bloomer. Growing up in Detroit, basketball and football were kind of like the biggest sports. So in high school, it didn't help that I went to a track and field powerhouse in Detroit, school by the name of Cass Tech. And once the coach learned that I was African, he immediately told me, "Oh, you're gonna be running 800 meters and up," even though I was actually someone that had short distance speed. So I started off in a lot of the wrong events till I
Hmm.
kind of forced my way into sprints. So shout outs to all the track and field athletes
Yeah, force
nowadays.
your way back down.
Yeah. Now, so you
Oh
were
yeah.
born
I mean, you're really blessed when you have a coach that matches what you want.
yeah, the match is what you want. You got to have a coach that believes in you. That believes in you. Yep, yep. Now, tell us about
Mhm.
pretty much growing up in a city like McKinney. Is that a smaller town in Texas, or is it like a mid-sized city in Texas?
I would say when we first moved down there, not that I would remember, but it was really small, but it's really blown up a lot. I think we were voted one of the best cities to live in like a couple years ago, which is insane to me. But we're kind of in like the Allen, Frisco suburb. So if you know Texas football, like Allen is huge. So
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
that's always been like a very big thing. And especially up in the DFW Metroplex, football is really huge. But I would say, yeah, I really feel like I had a good sense of community. I didn't really move schools a lot, or I didn't switch schools. I had a really good upbringing. Where I live, I was really close to my elementary school and middle school, so I was able to walk, and I feel like I had really good friends. Or walk to school, and I feel like I had really good friends. Growing up. So yeah, I really do love McKinney, and I always feel so proud that everything that I do, I can also like give them some of the praise and the glory too, because they're all part of my journey.
Yep, yep, yep. Now, who are kind of role models and mentors that kept you focused? Because it's not uncommon to have a kid coming up in sports. They're good in the classroom, they're good at their sport, and then they fall off, they fall by the wayside. So who kind of kept you focused?
Yeah, that's also a very interesting question, because I always feel like even in summer track, like I always have big sisters and I would look up to them, but sometimes they wouldn't last as long in the sport as me. So I would look up to them and then they would leave. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of by myself. I do feel like most of the time I was by myself, but I knew that I have a really good support system from my family and my friends that really helped a lot. But going into college, I would say Alicia Williams, she was a previous Baylor Bear. I really did look up to her. She was an 800-meter runner before me, and she had all of the Baylor records, and she really mentored me and really, told me like, Aaliyah, if you wanted to be great and you wanted to do good, like Coach Harper's going to take care of you, and he's going to have you run fast times. Like you just have to trust in him. And I really feel like she's been really helpful even now in my journey. So I would definitely say her.
Excellent, excellent. So you had someone, right on campus, an alum to kind of school you a little bit, kind of introduce you to the college stage. Because as we know,
Hmm.
track and field on the high school level is a lot different from track and field on the college level.
Most definitely. You're definitely humbled when you get to this next level.
Now, if you could come up with three words to describe Aaliyah Miller, what would those words be and why?
Ooh, that's a very
Put you
good
on the spot.
question. Yeah, you are putting me on the spot. I would say, hmm, I would say smiling. I feel like I'm rarely smiling except if it's like, a race day, I'm not saying anything. I would say caring. I care about the people in my life and, also giving back. And I would say driven.
Driven.
I think
Okay.
that's also a really good word to put. Yeah, just I feel like I had a really big mental reset, and I've never really put that word really by me before, but I feel like now, like I know that when I commit to something that I could, get the result that I want, or at least feel the confidence to get what I would want out of whatever it is, regardless if that's schoolwork or if that's track or it's just taking care of things personally.
And being driven is important. Obviously not just in competitive sport, but in the classroom or just in our everyday lives. Now, it's interesting when we have guests on the show, whether they're college age or older professionals. I know with Tiana Bartoletta, we asked her what actress would play her in a movie, and her answer was kind of surprising. So, um, Aaliyah, what actress would play you in
I'm
a
already
movie?
so excited. Oh, this is like going to be a no-brainer for people that know me, but I would say Zendaya. I absolutely love her. Oh my goodness, idolize her for sure. But yeah, I would say Zendaya.
Okay, okay.
And I wouldn't say more of like, the drug addict roles that she's been playing in Euphoria, probably more of like the Spider-Man roles. But
Okay,
yeah,
that's fair enough.
she has some very good versatility.
Yep, that's what I respect in actors that can switch it up. Where when you see them in one movie, when they switch over to the next movie, you don't see you'll see them in the older role. So yeah, I can respect that.
Hmm.
Now, how was your college recruiting experience like, Aaliyah, as far as getting offers, not just in the giant state of Texas, but like out of state offers? How's that recruiting process like for you?
Yeah, I mean, initially it was kind of a lot to see first how many people were interested in me, and also having so much, I guess, autonomy and control over it. I mean, when you're looking to where you want to attend college for 4 years, it's like you're kind of not stuck at home. Like you can really make the decision based on what you want. Like if you wanted to leave your home state and go somewhere else, you have the power to, especially if it can be paid for by a school that really wants you. So I really appreciated that. But I knew I wanted to stay close to home. I love my family and I love my friends, and I knew I didn't want to leave Texas. So staying in Texas was pretty big for me, or at least drivable distance so I can go home. So that was a big factor into where I was gonna attend school.
Okay, okay. Now, Waco, Texas, right now. I mean, with Baylor winning a national championship in basketball and your track and field program pretty much reloading. Baylor is one of the more respected programs, at least in the Southwest. How do you feel about um, 5 years from now, when after college, you're looking towards the pro level? Where does Aaliyah Miller see herself 5 years from now?
Oh, I definitely still see myself in a professional career. I don't even know how long I would want it to go, but I know I'm definitely not done with the sport anytime soon. But I do want to look back at my time here at Baylor and really be thankful, for the people that I met. I know I've made a lot of quality connections through the staff and teammates I've met through here, and even some of my classmates. Like I know these are going to be some of my forever friends. So just really taking into consideration and not rushing through any state of life that I'm in. When you're in high school, like, oh, I can't wait to go to college. But then you get to college, you're like, oh, I miss high school. I want to make sure that I'm enjoying every single stage that I'm in and not taking, the joy or counting down the days, because that really takes the fun out of it. And then you're always going to miss it when you're going back.
That's a fact, and that's a very good point. I'm glad you share that with our young viewers. Enjoy the trip and not just the destination ahead. Yes, yes.
Hmm.
Now, what is the one of the biggest differences that you see um, on the big time college level in the Big 12 or even nationally when it comes to competing indoors versus competing outdoors? What's the biggest difference in your approach?
Yeah, well, being a Texas athlete, I didn't have any experience from in high school. My first indoor race was in college. So I feel like the Northwestern girls up in New York and New Jersey who have like who actually have indoor seasons, they do have a little bit of a advantage over us. But I don't let that get into it. I mean, it's still the same difference, but it's a definite different mental battle because in indoors there's a lot of 200-meter tracks. So if I would run an 800, that would be 4 laps versus 2 laps on an outdoor track. So mentally you have to like lock in of like, no, it's not longer distance, it's just more laps. So running
Okay.
was already a big mental battle. But I feel like that was one of the things that I had to take a huge adjustment to, was just making sure that mentally, like I wasn't psyching myself out or quitting before the race started, because it's really easy to get in your head.
Now, what's the diet looking like for um, a college, a student athlete, especially on that level? Like, you think about the college budget, you think of cafeterias, you think of not having much time to, balance steady time with practice. What does your typical diet look like?
Yeah, so luckily Baylor is blessed. But right before I got here, they built a new nutrition center specifically for student athletes. It's called the Bank. So they have provided us really good meals that we have. They serve breakfast and dinner 5 days a week. So that usually covers most of the time that we do have to eat. So that's also really helpful. And even having a nutritionist, that's been big. I've been talking to her to make sure that, the portions of what I'm eating is good, not making sure I'm eating or not eating too much of one thing and, excluding another, just making sure I have a healthy balance and really knowing why I'm putting the food in my body and what that gives me as regards into energy and recovery and, making sure I'm performing to my best.
Okay. Okay. Now, not to have you give away all your secrets to our young viewers, but um,
It's no secret.
what are like what are your favorite um pre-meat snacks and pre-meat music like your music playlist?
Okay, I would say pre-meat snacks. I really love Scooby Doo fruit snacks. I really love those, specifically that brand. I don't know why. I think it just reminds me of when I was younger. My mom would get them for me. But I'm either eating that or goldfish. And then music, it usually depends on my mood. Like sometimes if I'm in a chill mood or like a little anxious, I'll listen to some calm music. And then if I'm feeling like a little hype, I'll listen to some different music just to, get me going. Cause I usually only listen to music when I'm getting ready. So like doing my hair, putting on, makeup and stuff. But other than that, when I'm at the track, I don't really like to have that. I don't know. I just don't really like to be on my phone when I'm at the meet because I'll just get distracted or just forget that, it's business time.
um in any level of sport, but especially when you get to the college level, like you alluded to earlier, there's a lot of competition, stiff competition. Um, what other runners in the Big 12 do you see as really stiff competition?
I would say the girls at Oklahoma State, they always have a really solid, pack of middle distance girls. I mean, you never know what race they're going to do, and you never know what they're going to, pull out on the day. And then Texas always has a few girls too, so always keeps you on your toes.
Um, what advice would you have for high school track runners that just simply have dreams of getting college scholarship offers during this COVID era?
hmm I would I would say the biggest thing is to remain consistent. I know for me it was even really hard to train, as I would say, train for the unknown because for the longest we didn't even know if we were going to have it indoor or outdoor season. We were kind of just training in the blind, but it really does bring out the best of you and tells yourself that okay, yeah, I really do love this, because you're doing this with no kind of end goal in reach, even though mentally you want to do good and race well and jump well. But the biggest thing and also going into recruiting is make sure to have a list of stuff or qualities that you want in a coach or things you're not going to budge on when you're going on these visits. I know that's a really big thing because it's easy for, coaches or people who are there now to kind of twist what you say or what you want and then thinking
Uh-huh.
that like, yeah, this is the good thing or this is where you want to go. Like for me, I knew I was gonna wanted to be a 400 meter, 800 meter runner. I didn't want to be an 800-meter miler. So I didn't want a coach to train me from a cross country perspective and put a bunch of miles on me and then I lose my speed. I was really stickler on like, no, I want to be able to, still run the 800 and go down and run a 4x4 lay or run a 400 and not be pigeonholed and stuck into a situation or a training regimen that I'm not used to. I also knew that I was going to break easily, stress fracture wise. So, and I didn't want to put on a bunch of miles. So I would say like be, sturdy on the things that you want. If you know you want to leave Texas and go and try something new, then go do that. Like listen to yourself, and the biggest thing is don't lie to yourself and really be honest with yourself and fall in love with the school too. Because a big thing is you don't want to just go to the school because of the track program. Because
Okay.
the moment you get hurt and then you're stuck there, you're not competing, it can really change. And that's what I knew freshman year when I got hurt and still just had class that like okay I knew this was still the right place for me, but it's easy to get into that down space of just negativity. And you don't want that. You want to make sure that you're going there because you love the school, the city, and the track program and what that has to offer you. There's a lot of factors, but once you know, you'll know.
Thank you, Aaliyah, and thank you for being honest, and not sugarcoating everything. Thank you for giving our young viewers honest answers. Blessings to you, your teammates, and your loved ones, and please continue to motivate and inspire the next generation. Thank you so much for blessing us with the opportunity to have you on the show, Aaliyah.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Thank you. And we will upload the episode on our Facebook podcast page at Heavy Brand Podcast and also on Instagram at Heavy Brand Podcast. Thank you so much, Aaliyah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.